Tension is in the air as Kenyans wait for the national elections in August. Kenya manages to survive a pandemic and part of the economy being shut down. How Corona affected the physical health of Kenyans. Are there any systems that have been set in place to uplift tomorrow's leaders? Good morning. My name is Sophia Macau. Welcome to our viewers from Kenya and around the world. I will be with you for the next 25 minutes. Thank you for joining me. Tensions are in the air as Kenyans wait for the national elections in August. The fear to return to the dark place that division took us in 2007 cannot be ignored. Which path are we taking as a country in light of the undertones of incitement during our electoral campaigns?
I don't believe that it's adding problems to the situation because, first of all, legally speaking, definitely everyone has a right of freedom of expression and the politicians are not limited from this right. However, the media is the only avenue that we're learning that they're propagating violence, they're talking about hate speech, inciting people and making communities go against each other. And legally speaking, the freedom of expression has been limited and you are not allowed to propagate or incite any form of war or hate speech. So I believe that what the media is actually doing is right because it's the only avenue that we are learning that hate speech is being spread, and if the media keeps quiet about it, how will the Kenyan citizens learn about it? How will they know that hate is being spread?
Sioni kuna ubaya if media ikifanya job yao ya kuinform Kenyans and any other society, because at the end of the day, it's the job of the media to come and plaster what is good in this particular party, what is bad in the same party, what is good in the other party, what is bad in the other party. Then at the end of the day, it's up to the consumer to do what? To make a decision based on what they have read, what they have heard.
Joining me live is Pastor Ben Mayoyo to shed more light on this matter. Welcome to the show, Pastor Ben. Let's get right into it. Do you feel like the way the media has been reporting on matters, politics and elections has been biased?
Thank you very much, Sophia. As for me in this season of politics, I don't really feel like the media is reporting rightly, direct to the way it should, because we have seen is even in the public domain that some of the media owners, they have already taken sides. So according to me, I don't believe they are doing what they should as the way they are supposed to do.
Do you think that Kenyans are buying into the propaganda they are receiving?
Yes, because you see, what you see is what you believe. So I believe that some majority of Kenyans that they receive this news, the one that I see, they will also take side according to the way the news is being spread out by the media house.
So what can you advise Kenyans to do, considering we want to avoid violence like in the 2007 post-election?
I think one of the most important things that we must do as a country and as Kenyans is, first of all, to learn from our previous mistakes, because some of the leaders in the previous seasons that we've had of elections, they used youths and also they used media to incite others. So we should learn from the mistakes of before, and now in this season we should understand that we are the people with a voice, that our votes make sense in the ballot. So we should not hear what the media is saying, but we should focus with what we really desire and to bring change even to our country.
And do you feel like the religious body is quiet on this matter?
According to me, I don't feel like they are vocal enough. But what I will advise is that as leaders, as pastors, as bishops, we need to pray for the country and also to give direction
Kenya manages to survive a pandemic and part of the economy being shut down. How are we able to contain the virus and have less death cases than countries that have better developed health systems? Our correspondent to the field has more on this.
When the COVID was in, we came up with some strategies like we could introduce hand washing, which would minimize the spread of the virus among other people. There was the masks, the face mask, which we were not used to before. So we introduced the face mask. They could prevent the virus from one person to another. There was the social distancing, that was 1 meter apart. It really helped. And to some diets, people were encouraged to take balanced diets. They were strong and strong immunity too.
Well, I think the country has really handled the pandemic very well because if you look at the number of deaths, there are not as many as maybe other countries, the European or the North American sort of countries. But in Kenya, we have managed it to, I think it's less than 5,000, I might be wrong. But I think we've managed it well. Even the protocols were given by the Ministry of Health. They really worked for us. I know maybe the economy really didn't go as well as we expected, but in terms of health and managing the whole pandemic, I think we did well.
We beat the odds despite all the flaws we have as a country, but we sought to find out what was the situation with COVID in other countries. My analyst is all the way from the United Kingdom. Welcome to the show, Ruth Powell. Kindly tell us, how was the healthcare system affected by corona in the UK?
There are a few things, rather in my opinion, happened during COVID. The most obvious ones was like most of the treatment were deferred. What I mean by this is that people who had long-term treatment and maybe they were meant to go to hospital for treatment every month or every week, so those had to be cancelled. So these things like cancer treatment or things like chronic conditions were cancelled in order to accommodate room for the surge of the COVID patient. The other thing that happened was the cost. Well, by this I mean that since the chronic conditions were deferred, the cost is going to go high. That meaning that a treatment was going to take like 4 treatments, and now it's been deferred to maybe, we don't know when the treatment will start again. The patient had to be put on medication as they wait for their proper treatment. So there was a cost going high.
So you can say that the healthcare facilities weren't really prepared to handle a pandemic?
I don't think there's anywhere where they were prepared, because before that, the healthcare industry was already in crisis because of the cost of just running a general healthcare system. So when the pandemic happened, this made things worse. So there was shortages of staff, lack of equipment, there was not enough PPE, the protective equipment provided to the staff. So before that, the crisis was already looming.
We've seen different reports on TV, but what can you say is the current situation with COVID right now?
The current condition in UK, I can say it's subsided, but we still have pockets of outbreaks. So we have, let's say in care homes, you'd find there is no COVID, but when one person who's infected, then there's an outbreak. So what's happening at the moment is that when there's an outbreak, the area, let's say a care home, a nursing home, or even a hospital, it goes to lockdown.
Are there any other measures that have been put in place in case of another major outbreak?
The measures which were there in the first place, like the mask mandate, the social distancing, and also lockdown, they've been stopped. They're not mandatory now. But when these pockets of outbreak happened, they're sort of being reinstated, and it's still a learning, curve. The healthcare industry is trying to see whether the things that were put in place during the outbreak really working, so that in case of future outbreaks they can be used again, but it's not known yet because the data is still out there.
fitness is not a topic in many Kenyan households. And with the corona-mandated lockdown, it only gave people more excuse to be inactive. In today's story, we look at how corona affected the physical health of Kenyans.
Keeping fit, because we actually realized the fitter individuals were much stronger when it came to overcoming the disease.
And my physical fitness has been affected by corona in this way. I've been working at home. I spend most of the time at home, so I don't go out. I don't take time. If I don't come here in the morning or evening, I can't get time to go like walking, because mostly of the time I'm home. So I'm not active. I'm just staying at home working. And you get all kind of food at home, so I can't stay without eating when food is there. Especially the fresh foods, the fresh bread. So that one has really affected my fitness.
The benefit of staying physically fit cannot be played down. Samuel Ovam, reporting for TASP Media.
When it comes to credit access, there is no doubt that the youth have been marginalized by financial institutions, and the lack of employment only makes it worse. Are there any systems that have been set in place to uplift tomorrow's leaders?
I don't think so. This is because when I need to take a bank, I need to have collateral. Like I need to have property to secure the loan I'll take. So if I don't have a job, I don't have a steady income, how am I going to pay for my loan? You see, you find it's so hard for a youth.
Credit towards the youth is very underrated. Because to begin with, if you look at the charts about 5 to 10 years ago, the percentage of how youths would access it, the total number of applications, about under 15% would acquire those loans or those credits. And it's very disheartening because the youths are very innovative to begin with. The amount of time we put in our homes and everything that comes up, yeah? Because if you look into Laikipia, the Bajaj, they came up with a vehicle that looks like a tuk-tuk but a bit bigger for passengers. So you look at that, those people who came under that, if they couldn't get the credit access, yeah, they wouldn't be able to do that. But it's very limited, even considering the amount of unsecured loans that we have currently. As much as they are higher and higher, but even unsecured loans is still great risk.
The youth should be empowered by everyone, and if not for any other reason, because the future of our country will be in their hands. Joining me live is a young man who has partnered with his friends to change the narrative on credit access to the youth. Welcome to the show, Meshach. Let's get right into it. Kindly tell us, why do you think the youth are excluded?
According to me, it's a decision that's been made based on past trends on how the youth have handled this topic of financial inclusion, and the decisions that have gone into youth, the people that have already gotten access to some of these credit loans and microfinance loans and ended up defaulting perhaps, or not put that money to proper use.
So I understand with Tajiri, you guys are trying to bridge the gap between that and including the youth in the financial space. Kindly tell us about that.
So Tajiri eliminates that option of you being required to give extra collateral when you're applying for a loan. And we make it accessible, giving loans as low as 200 shillings. And the reason as to why that is because you'll probably find someone just needs transport money to get to a place where they have or they're looking forward to getting some stipend at the end of the day, and then come repay their loan. And then so our growth in terms of the loan limit happens in a way that there's stagnation in different bands, right? So you are guaranteed that your loan limit is going to grow based on the number of times you borrowed or accessed credit from Tajiri, the platform. So this makes it easier because the only thing you need is data access to download the app. Okay. Other than that, you need to have, of course, you need to be 18 and above, so that we can easily query for your details and look at a credit score and a minimum credit.
As we wind up, what advice can you give the youth who don't have access to this information? How can they build themselves up in the situations they find themselves in?
So one thing you need to realize is you don't need a huge capital base to get a good credit score. Regular and small transactions on your M-Pesa, in the case of Kenyans, could increase your credit score. Get yourself an account, a bank account, if you don't already have one. You don't necessarily, remember also banks have an, if it's dormant, you'll require an activation fee. But now the thing is, the trick is to just have a regular or a steady flow of funds into the account. And by regular and steady, I don't mean huge chunks of money. You could deposit 50 shillings into your account, you could deposit 100 shillings. Nowadays banks don't have limits on the amount of money that you can deposit into your account, and that creates a steady flow. So that when these remittances happen to the credit listing agencies, you have a steady flow, like they can easily tell this guy can transact. Now the other thing is, I would advise the youth is, in the event of you getting a loan, alright, so, or a credit advancement to you, don't take a loan based on prior to planning. Know exactly how you plan on servicing this loan, alright? Say for instance I get 200 shillings and I know for a fact, as mentioned before, I'm going in for a job and I will get a stipend in the evening that amounts to 600 shillings. I can comfortably say that I'll be able to repay these 200 shillings that I got as a credit advancement, and possibly get another limit to my credit. So just make sound financial decisions based on, especially when it's with credit.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insights, and welcome back. You can keep the conversation going, it doesn't end here. Keep interacting with us on our social media platforms, on Facebook at Sophia Macau and Twitter at Sophia_Macau. The hashtag is #TheKanda. We have come to the end of our newsreel. Thank you for sticking with me to the end. Have yourselves a lovely week ahead.